Yo, yo, yo. Hello and welcome back to the Lenko Show. This is episode number 114, 114. And today we're going to be talking about training volume. How much volume is too much volume, or is that even a thing? Is there an optimal amount you should be doing in the gym? Not adjusting your sound setting for this podcast. We're talking training volume, number of sets, number of reps. We're going to break that down a little bit. And then, as we promised a couple of weeks back, we will be talking about which Olympic sports we'd like to change, which ones should be discontinued, and which ones could be kicked out and or adapted to make room for some slightly more exciting variations. So we will be breaking those down. Chris, how you doing, bro?
Hello, everybody. Hello, Alex. It is lovely to see you. How was Wales?
Wales was delightful and very, very nice. Windy, very wet, but it was nice on the last day when we were leaving. I will say as well, because obviously, I actually went. Dad came along as well, and we held. I went into there's like a mini arcade in there, and we just went back to the old school shoot 'em up, kind of alien invasion, end of the world games. Beat
Oh,
him at that. Then we went on one of the driving simulators. They're so bad, by the way. They're so bad. There's no need to like you don't actually driving isn't a skill. It's literally pedal to the metal and then just skid it round, slide into stuff, bump off stuff, and hit the NOS button on the odd occasion. I beat him at that. And then we had the Air Hockey World Championships, and I beat him at that as well. Twice, two times, he squandered a 3-0 lead.
oh dear. He's
Yeah.
had an absolute stinker there, an absolute stinker. It reminds me, do you remember specifically Time Crisis? Do you remember when we got the gun?
Absolutely. What a game.
Ladies and gentlemen, we purchased the game with a gun, not a real gun, obviously, a gun and a pedal that you plugged in to play as your controller. And when you wanted to hide, you had your foot off the pedal. When you wanted to hide, when you were coming out of cover, you'd put your foot on the pedal and start shooting at the screen. Good times.
Classic Hollywood Bowl experience.
What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive.
The one thing that was missing was a simulator that gauges how hard you can kick a ball. Do you remember like the penalty shootout stuff you used to be able to do and it tell you your shot speed?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
That was
yeah.
the only thing that was missing. It was slightly disappointing, but overall very good, very enjoyable time. Felt slightly somewhat refreshed after the break, although on Sunday the Manchester Titans did get beaten in the semi-finals of the national championship. So season over, done. I'm still mourning. I'm still depressed. I'm still down. I'll be down. I'll be like that for a week or so, maybe longer. Um, yeah. So that's disappointing. But the world goes on.
The world does go on. Opportunity to learn.
Healing, the emotional, psychological healing started with a nice barbecue at Tony and Linda's on Sunday with the in-laws, and I did get a good gym session in as well. So that kind of helped a little bit, but it's yeah, it's not good. It's pretty raw. I hate losing more than I hate winning, and I know you're fairly similar in that sense, aren't you?
Yeah, there you go. I was just about to say, there's your R&R. Rest and recovery. Have a nice steaky barbecue. That'll help things. And a good workout.
Yes.
Slash beat yourself up.
Anyway, today we're going to talk about training volume. You posted something. I saw it yesterday about more volume is better volume, more volume is good for muscle gains. Do you want to break that down a little bit and we'll get into some of the considerations that people can bear in mind and you start to utilize when it comes to muscle growth. So this is purely muscle growth. Kids, listen in.
Yeah, specifically hypertrophy. So it was a concept anyway, and it was widely believed that there was elements of it that were definitely true anyway. Obviously, you would think doing more reps would contribute towards more gains, but there has been more research that has come out recently that shows indefinitely that it is in fact true. However, the devils are always in the details, and that's what we're going to go through today. Yeah, so I was reading about that, and then I decided to celebrate it by doing. I did 50 reps on a leg press, 50 reps on a leg curl, 50 reps on a leg extension. I'm going to caveat the people by saying we don't actually have access to those pieces of kit at the gym that I train at. So it was more than enough volume for me. I didn't go super heavy. It was controlled quality movement. I just thought to myself, so this was on Friday. I want some nice leggy gains. I want some volume through the lower body. I've had a glass lower back recently. What can I do? I can get a dirty pump on a leg press, a dirty pump on a leg curl, and a dirty pump on a leg extension. Easy peasy. So I did that, and then I decided to do my strict press and weighted pull-ups as well, getting some reps in, which for me is a massive volume increase from what I would normally do on those particular movements anyway. So it was gains. It was lovely. It was lovely.
So in terms of what most people typically recommend um, for hypertrophy gains, I think the typical suggestion is that you use somewhere between 10 and 20 sets per muscle group per week for optimal gains. However, there's research out there that indicates advanced lifters will benefit from much higher volumes. And I was looking through, found some stuff from Menno Henselmans, who's really good when it comes to muscle growth. And he posted a study which was co-authored by Mike Israetel, who is an absolute legend, by the way. I just love the way that he just sits behind his desk looking fucking massive, absolutely laying into people chatting nonsense. We'll know that we've made it when Dr. Mike is analyzing some of our BS.
Yeah, he's actually really, really clever as well, which is what I love.
That's
Like,
why he's
he
called
really,
Dr. Mike. You don't get called Dr. Mike. Actually, no, because Dr. Joel. Yeah,
yeah,
no, forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about it. No, he's actually very clever. He's earned his title of doctor, should we say?
absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
And he specializes in hypertrophy. So when it comes to this specific topic, he is the go-to guy.
his
The go.
arms are massive as well. He has
He's
got.
everything.
Yeah, he's got.
He's
Yeah,
massive. Well,
I like him. He seems like a sound guy. Seems like a
yeah,
sound.
he's funny.
So I think he published something where they pushed training volume to 32 sets of squats per week, which is that's a sizable amount. Um,
Fucking horrendous is what it is.
yeah, and then it's not actually the highest amount that's been studied. So there was a study in 2015, Radaeli, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, where the participants performed 1, 3, or 5 sets per exercise, with 2 exercises for biceps, 3 for triceps, and then 3 times per week through a full body training program. So in terms of sets for the biceps, the volumes were 6, 18, and 30. And then for the triceps, the volumes were 9 sets, 27 sets, and 45 sets. All sets were performed to failure. And I think that is a big key in this. Like, if you're wanting muscle growth, performing to failure is a very, very useful tool. If you want to maximize time and attention, stress on the muscle, you're stressing the nervous system, you're getting loads of time and attention, you're increasing muscle damage. Training to failure is a fantastic way to do that. It's not recommended for strength. I wouldn't do it for those purposes, and I certainly wouldn't do it for power and speed development. But in terms of pure muscle growth, if that is your only goal, training to failure is an excellent way to do it. And this is where you can then be creative with your training. You can find all kinds of different ways to go to failure. So I had a few guys on a PT session in the gym this morning, and we did a bit of, like, it was a leg session, and then we finished it a little bit early, so we had a bit of time. So we decided to train. Well, I made the decision that they were going to train calves, and we did calf raises. And here, you can try this as well. This is like, try this, feedback to me, let me know what you think. So single leg calf raises, full range of motion to failure on the same leg. As soon as you hit that full range of motion, you can't get any further. Continue with partial range of motion to failure. So you completely unsupported, completely unassisted. Keep going through whatever range you've got left to failure. Then go into assisted full range of motion, full range of motion to failure. Then once you've done that, if that isn't enough for you, go fully assisted, push up to the top of your calf raise and come down as slowly as you can. Do that to failure and tell me how you feel the next day. So when people say, if you say you can't grow your calves, go and do that for a couple of weeks, a couple of times a week, and then let me know what you're saying.
That stinks of not being able to drive home.
I'll tell you what it does stink of. It stinks of not being able to walk or run properly for a few days afterwards. So
Yeah.
did I did that myself. I think I did it on a Monday, and then we had American football training Wednesday night. Thought I'll I'll be able to kick as normal. I'll run around. I'll do some additional sprints like I sometimes do, and really struggled with that. Really struggled with kicking. Really struggled with maintaining my flow of movement because there's a lot of intricacies. Is like for me, it has to be perfect. If it's off, you know. I thought, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. Got GB camp on Saturday, no problem. GB camp on Saturday, I was still feeling it. I was thinking that was good. That was really good when I did that on Monday. What I'm going to do this time is wait a little bit longer now. So space it out. Maybe don't push it too hard. Go on.
Can I interject with a very saucy piece that you can do for your calves
Oh,
if you really want to smash them to bits?
absolutely.
Mix up some plyometrics or sprint work. So you're not like destroying them in that first one. Let's say I'm trying to remember the track at Total Fitness. It wasn't straight, so it wasn't ideal. But I think it was meant to be like it was meant to be a 200-meter loop, but it wasn't. It was about 160 meters. But we had fast run around the track into heavy prowler push into your isolation. So you're doing your fast work into your heavy work, into your isolation. I think we were doing it as a toe press on the leg press. So we were doing it like, imagine these are my feet. For anyone who can't see, imagine you've got just the ball of your feet on your toes on the shelf of the leg press and you're pushing away as though you're just doing a calf raise for 20 reps at heavy enough weight. That was absolutely saucy.
I think if you do that right on the calf praises though, you massively inhibit your sprint for the next lap. But I do quite like the idea of going high force, high speed, high impact. You are training sort of the full spectrum there in terms of loading. You got that fast, immediate plyometrics, and then you've got your longer, slower strength work into right now. Let's just fuck you up a little bit with some hypertrophy. I like that.
Yeah.
I do like
Yeah.
that. So training to failure is crucial for, like I say, crucial for muscle growth. It's a massive part of it. The further you can push, the harder you can push, the better your results. Um,
Yeah, the distance there, just to add to that, is what Alex is saying there is I could easily do 50 sets of one rep. I've done a lot of sets, but one rep is not necessarily going to fatigue me and it's not optimal for hypertrophy, which is why you're looking to create the stimulus with every set that you do. It's not that you need to absolutely destroy yourself, but with the intensity comes the stimulus that you're looking for.
yeah. And then even with those really high sets that we were talking about, so like up to 45 sets of triceps work per week, there isn't even a diminishing returns for the muscle growth. So like if you the more you do, the more you gain from it. So essentially more is better in that world. So in terms of your dose response for getting bigger arms, then it is 100% a very good way to go. And then Brad Schoenfeld, we went and saw him in Sheffield quite a few years ago. He published a similar study to that in 2018, so about 6 years ago now. Strength trained men performing one, three, or five sets per exercise during an 8-week study, which led to a total weekly number of sets per muscle group of 6 and 9 sets for the 1 set group, 18 and 27 sets for the 3 set group, and then 30 and 45 sets per week for the 5 set group in the upper and lower limbs. So, for instance, in this particular one, the volume of training for quads was 50% higher than the amount of volume you were getting for your triceps and your biceps. Again, every set performed to failure, and there was no effect on training volume on the strength development at all. So backing up the evidence, backing up the idea that for strength gains, more isn't necessarily better. So for strength and speed, you need to understand when to dip out. And when you drop in, I know we've spoken about this so often before on this podcast, but when you drop out of that window of, let's say, your target speed, 90-95% of your top speed, or 90-95% of your max effort lift, there is a point where you need to check out, go home, recover, let your CNS recuperate. Whereas hypertrophy muscle gains, slightly different in that respect. You can just keep going and hammer it, hammer it, hammer it. And again, massively greater muscle growth from that study as well. So if you want more gains, if you want bigger muscles, if you want to get absolutely jacked and pumped, do more.
Yeah. And I think the only caveat is as long as you can eventually recover from what you're doing. If you absolutely smash, let's say, your carbs on a Monday, and then you can't really do them again on Tuesday because they are so bad, you've hit, in theory, what your window is for the time being. And then you eventually want to build that volume up over the course of time. This is why there's like, I wouldn't say it's an argument, but there's two, I guess, main ideas behind what people should be doing for hypertrophy now, which is obviously DUP stuff, which is where you would train full body on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, on a Thursday, on a Friday. So you've got frequency. Or for the advanced people who need to really, really destroy things to get them to grow because they're so used to the stimulus, they might just do like a back specific day, like literally all on the lats because they need to put so many sets through it on that day, let it recover the following day, and then hit it again the day after that. There's no real right or wrong. It's just if you are increasing your volume and maintaining that intensity and it's going up, you will be getting more gains.
Yep. Yeah. So I think there's a bit of a difference between, obviously, if you're a beginner. So those two studies that I mentioned before were on trained individuals. I think the first one was on military personnel. So obviously they have had a life born around training. And then I think the second study I mentioned, the Schoenfeld one, was it was in strength trained men. Now, if you're untrained, typically the research is indicating anywhere between 5 and 20 sets. And then on the lower end is probably where you're going to get the best gains. That's where you'll start to make the most progress. So you're building a bit of resilience and you're actually earning the right to be able to do more. That's the key to it. You can't just go from doing nothing and go, right, now I'm going to go and do 45 sets per week and become Mr. Olympia. Like, it's not going to work like that. Think about how to bridge that gap. So, I mean, we can talk about our different approaches as to how we might kind of train someone for this sort of thing. But if you're brand new to training and you wanted to build muscle, burn fat, get shredded, whatever it is, start off with just a couple of sets per session, training to absolute failure. And you might split that into 3 whole body sessions per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or if you want to spread it out a little bit more, feel free to do so. But for each of your exercises that are in there, pick anywhere from 3 to 5 exercises, 3 to 6, 4 to 6, either one of those. Simplify it, keep it really, really simple. I'd say maybe 2 sets to failure and start there.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking with the guys that I've got that do hypertrophy stuff. I always think in my head, if you this is only focusing on hypertrophy, to have to do as little as possible to elicit the best response possible. That's the best thing, unless like it is entirely a life and you've got everything that you can give to it. That's 0.01% of the population. If you can do a really, really lightweight for low volume with outrageous intensity and elicit the exact response that you are looking for, you have got so much more room for development moving forward. If, for example, I went to the gym tomorrow and I mastered a 52.5 kilogram bicep curl. I don't know why I picked that number or that exercise. Let's just say 52.5 kilo bicep curl, and I could do 100 reps with it. Where the fuck do I go from there? I have to start doing more than 100 reps or use more weight, and it becomes a fucking ball ache. In the sense of hypertrophy, that's only what I'm talking about here. And obviously, that is a weird exercise. But you want to create the damage necessary, elicit the result with your stimulus, elicit the stimulus with your intensity, with as little weight and as little sets as possible at the start, because that is all you will need. And then you can continue moving forward, and it's easy to start increasing. Okay, now I can up my weight by 2.5, or now I can increase my sets. I can do an extra set, or I can do an extra 5 reps, as opposed to really having to start adding all the crazy shit in, like triple fucking cluster drop sets and all
But
that crazy jazz.
this is a really important factor because I think if you have to bear in mind how you want to feel at the end of the session, how you want to feel through the rest of the week, and bear in mind DOMS is definitely going to be a factor. Like, do you want to be able to walk around and feel a bit of a pump, feel like you've done something, or do you want to have to hobble around and not be able to sit on the toilet comfortably for the next 6 days? Those are two very, very different training sessions. Then I would also say when it comes to actually picking your weight, engaging your weight, think of base it on an RPE scale of 6 out of 10. Take that as your start point, because if you go too light, for instance, if you started doing barbell squats, Chris, for muscle growth, hypertrophy, you are going to be there for a very long time until you hit failure, my friend. Whereas if you pick something that's a bit more efficient, like let's say if your 1 rep max back squat was 200, rep at 100, 110. If your back squat is 160, rep at, I would say, 60, 80 kilo, like 80 kilos, somewhere around that. And get the reps in that way, push to fatigue, and then work through full range of movement and control the tempo. Again, I think that is another key to it. If you just recklessly start throwing the weight around and cheating it, you're not focusing on the muscle, the contraction, and getting the pump and really kind of isolating what you're aiming at. So bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. Technique is a huge factor. Doing it right, controlling the tempo, and selecting the correct weight.
Yeah, I was going to reference Mark Wahlberger's 30 pull-ups that he did on the Ellen DeGeneres show like years ago. Did you ever see that?
No, I haven't seen it. No. Why are they garbage?
Yeah, but the thing is, they're sat on the sofa and she's asking him about his training, and he's in great shape, like fair play to him. But she asks him about how many pull-ups he can do, and he's like, I can do 30. Good ones though. Like I'm talking good top to bottom. And he's like making a point of explaining that his pull-ups are top class pull-ups. And he says he can do 30, which is obviously a fucking lot. And then they bring out a bar and they make him do them. And they are pretty fucking horrendous to watch. And I don't know how many he does. He maybe does eight to 10, but it's like a cape, not a CrossFit cape, just I'm struggling to get up, so I'm going to kick a little bit. Barely gets his chin over the bar. It's horrendous. If you find a person that can do, and Dr. Mike says this all the time, do 10 strict pull-ups, dead hang at the bottom, arms nice and straight, and then they pull chin goes over the bar, little pause at the top, slow and control all the way down, little pause at the bottom. Like for 10, you have found yourself a bit of a freak, because that is really fucking hard to do.
Yeah.
Really hard to do. And it makes the thing is, one thing that always confused me, Alex, and I know you don't really train people the same way anymore, but so I train a lot of GP people who want to get into shape and they're doing specifically hypertrophy stuff. Whenever we say go to failure, people start like trying to razz the weight around and throw it a little bit. And it's like you're making your failure harder to get to because you're now fucking about with it. If you now have to do like 25 shit reps, in order to get to failure. If you'd have just done it properly,
Yeah.
like that I just said with the pull-ups, full range of motion, fast and athletic on the way up, slow and controlled on the way down, nice stretch at the bottom, you'll get maybe 6. And that's a really good working set. But now you've fucked about with it. You've potentially impinged your shoulder. You've potentially angered your elbows. And now you have to do an extra 20 reps or partial reps, let's say. And it's just not worth it.
And that, I think, is what actually causes more damage to, I suspect, not necessarily saying there's scientific evidence out there for this, but that for me would do more damage to the joint than anything, because you are essentially pissing into the wind. You're wasting reps, you're wasting energy. I mean, why do sort of 5 times more when you could got the same result, if not better, by doing it properly in the first place? Makes no
Yeah.
sense.
And I think it's an obvious one. If anyone out there actually videos themselves training, if you were to take a look at a video of you doing one of your last sets or going to failure or whatever, and you think, oh, I wonder why I've got elbow pain after that set of curls, and then you take a look and you throw in the bar, let's say you're just using an easy bar, whatever, and then it's yanking you forward at the bottom position, and then you're throwing it again. Like, it's very easy to see then, oh, maybe that's why I've got elbow pain.
Yeah. So there's a lot of factors in this, and I'm going to go through a couple more now. But the big thing is, make sure whatever it is you are doing, do it with focus and do it with intent. Like, have the intent of being in control all the way through. Don't sacrifice form and movement quality just for ego and being able to say, oh, I did this amount, I did this amount, or I did this weight. Don't do it. Like, the goal at the end of the day isn't, it's not a strength-based thing. So the amount of weight you lift is pretty much irrelevant. This is all about hypertrophy and muscle size over the course of the next 6, 8, 12 weeks and beyond, whatever your training program kind of parameters are. So there's a few different things to actually consider. So in muscle group considerations, larger muscle groups like quads, triceps, etc., might benefit from slightly higher training volumes compared to smaller muscle groups like the biceps. A couple of different factors in this. Muscle size is one thing. And then if you think like your quads is actually, quads, 4 muscles. But you've got various other things kicking in to add and assist with the movement. So in terms of isolating it, it's a little bit more difficult. It's a lot easier to isolate the biceps and put a lot more load into a much smaller muscle. You probably don't need as much volume over the course of your training week with regards to that. Muscle fiber composition, also a big factor. And then the recovery capacity of the muscles, the amount of volume it's been exposed to previously. You could also argue the kind of exercise selection. So, for example, your triceps will benefit from more of a position where you're extending up overhead as opposed to like a tricep. So, for instance, I'm talking like behind the neck, behind the head, dumbbell extension or cable rope tricep extension versus a cable push down. The overhead work would actually yield slightly better gains than the push downs would. I don't have the data to hand, but that is what I know. I have read that at some point. Then other factors you've got to bear in mind, you understand like diet quality, big factor in recovery, gender,
Well,
sleep, stress levels, training level and experience, your actual energy balance, genetics. Again, we've been through composition of the muscle fibers, probably time of year, I don't know, summer, winter. There's so many different things that will come into it. So
yeah, I think exercise selection is huge. You've got to be very, very mindful in the sense of if I wanted to do back squats to failure, and I challenge anyone listening out there to do 2 working sets at 85, 90% intensity or 8 or 9 RPE towards failure for 15 to 20 reps, moderate load. For hypertrophy, I would say you're looking at 3 seconds down, 1, 2 second pause at the bottom, and then fast up. Try that. However, you will find if you are not well versed in a back squat, you are going to hit your technique window before you actually fully exhaust whatever it is you're trying to grow.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, not always. They are some like back squats, deadlifts, bench press, the big movements like that. They are some of the best to help with hypertrophy. But you want to think technically, if I'm going to absolute failure and exhaustion here, am I gonna is something else gonna give before the actual muscle starts to break down? That's why bodybuilders often you see will do leg extensions, leg curls. You can focus locally on fatiguing that specific muscle, and therefore it's a little bit easier to push to your failure. You're also sat down. I was thinking this the other day, Alex. Bodybuilders have it easy. No disrespect. You do train really, really hard and you do have to go into a little bit of a hole to get to failure. But you sat down. It's not the same as doing a barbell walking lunge or a barbell Cossack squat or just a back squat or a front squat. It's very, very different when you sat down.
I would say as well, safety is a huge factor.
Yeah.
Safety, exercise selection, being smart, sensible, whether you're using leg press, leg ex. This is where machines really come into their own. And this is kind of like the modern day gym has been built and centered around this, which, is great for muscle development if you do it the right way. But it's actually not great for the overall health picture in terms of your VO2 max, your actual strength capabilities. But if you do want to get jacked, get on machines, get into exercises where kind of your movement pattern is fixed and there's very little in the way of variation. So you're having to work through a fixed plane. Again, nothing wrong with dumbbells, barbells, etc. But if you are going to go to failure, which is specifically advantageous for hypertrophy, then you need to be able to fail in a safe way. And dying with a barbell on your back or a barbell on your throat is not the way I would want to go. I'd much
It's
rather.
a noble death, very honorable, but not preferable.
Yeah. The problem is someone has to clean up after you, and then, there's the whole vibe in the gym, and you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yep, I would suggest if we were to kind of summarize that for you, forget all the intricacies, pick whichever exercises you want, break it up. Depending on how much time you've got, 3 whole body sessions per week, or if you want to train more, 2 upper, 2 lower, and then I'd certainly recommend adding in some core work or even a CV based day, um, for all the additional benefits that will bring. But try and hit those higher volume sets. Have a think about where you're actually starting from. So if you go through a normal training week now and break that down, what's the typical volume you're doing? Could you handle sort of 10 sets per muscle group? Could you handle 15? Could you handle 20? Gauge it that way and then start performing those exercises to failure and just be patient with it. Work through proper form, safe technique, and see what results you get from that. Again, pick weights somewhere from 60 to 80% of your 1 rep max and go for it. Is there anything that you would add to that as well, Chris?
Uh, I would just say, same as what Dr. Mike would say, you want to be, whilst we said about exercise selection and bear in mind, you want to be working through the movements where I know we've said you don't need to go heavy. You can do it across different rep ranges, but the best movements are the ones where you would be able to load the muscles specifically the best and through that movement. So you don't need to do weird, fancy technical shit. You don't need to try and create a new exercise. Stick to the main exercises and focus your intensity on those working sets. I wouldn't add anything else to that on top of what you said. Look after yourselves, stay safe out there. And obviously, hit your fucking protein. Otherwise, it's all just stupid.
And speaking of weird, fancy new exercises, I've got a confession.
Oh no.
I did
What
a I did a Joel Seedman exercise the other day.
was it? A trap bar, deadlift, sumo, deficit with at 90 degrees with plates on the trap bar sideways? You
It,
did it. You actually did that.
it was while standing on benches
Yeah.
and with the handle for the seated row machine. So I will admit that this is not something that's part of my training program. It's not something that's going to be in there at any point. It's not something that's going to be in there regularly, nor will my clients experience this. It was set up as a bit of a curiosity of what is actually in this. So I have recorded it. It's going to be a video. I'll put it up on my YouTube. It'll be on Instagram, and you will get the breakdown from me in terms of what I think to the setup, the exercise, and the overall picture of what it looks like. Because I'm genuinely just curious, and I'll give you a sneak kind of preview as to what it was like. So, in terms of setting it up, I did this in an empty gym. There was nobody else around, so like the gym was closed. Right, I knew where all the kit was. I had access to everything I needed. I didn't have to go and ask anybody if I can borrow a bench or borrow the bar or, borrow the handle. And I started the timer, started collecting all the kit, got the plates on the bar. And by the time I was ready to go, it was over 4 minutes. And that was in an empty gym. And that was for what I would consider one of the relatively simple exercises that he's put on. And then I was confused by a couple of little things. So in terms of the partial range stuff, well, it wasn't partial. It was deficit, wasn't it? Like he was actually getting quite a lot of range, and I was thinking, well, the only reason you'd really do something like that with that handle inside would be for someone who struggles with thoracic extension. It's just an easy position for them to get into, which is why you'd probably use the trap bar in the first place because it's an easier grip position than the conventional deadlift. But then I was thinking, well, he doesn't like deficit training. He doesn't like full range of movement training. He's very big on partials or what he refers to as his eccentric isometric. So I thought, well, that doesn't really add up. And then you're standing on two benches, which are both cushioned. That's it right there. Chris is showing you now. And then he's standing on two benches. So I know he's not going to the floor, and I guess it probably actually isn't a deficit. It is a bit of a partial because he's getting to just below the knee. So for me, if you wanted to go with a partial range of movement deadlift, why not just elevate the bar to some blocks so you're not having to start from that really low position? Because whether he likes it or not, he has to pick that up from the floor in the first place. So he has to go beyond his, I would say, argue recommended partial range anyway when he picks it up and puts it down. I mean, yeah, there is similar thing there where he's using gymnastics rings on a regular barbell. I mean, he's going to ruin the fucking rings. He's going to ruin the equipment. He's going to, like, with those two benches that I was stood on, I was thinking, right, I'm pushing about, 180 kilos through my feet here. Some of that force is being absorbed by the benches and dissipated. So I'm not actually able to put maximum effort into the bar. So I can't lift as heavy as I normally would. And it's going to completely ruin the upholstery. It's like jumping on your mum's sofa as a kid. You shouldn't, like, you need to be careful when you do it. You can't do it while they're watching, particularly at grandma's house. It's not allowed. So yeah, I did a bit of a breakdown, did that exercise. I actually really like the hand position. I really like the grip position of being able to hold the bar inside in between the legs. And but I suppose I do quite like a sumo deadlift. So it's basically that. My overall assessment is it's purely just for clicks. Either
Yeah.
that or he's having a laugh with it because there are so many, whatever it is you're trying to gain from that exercise, there are 100% better ways of doing it that would actually also be more respectful to everybody else that would attend the gym. For instance, the chap that's probably sat on the seated row thinking, where the fuck's my handle gone? And then he sees you doing that. Nonsense. And again, two benches for an exercise that doesn't even require a bench. Incredibly unnecessary. incredibly unnecessary. So yeah, I did a bit of a Joel. Can we still be friends, Chris?
Uh, no.
Right, let's let's break down the Olympic sports. We obviously the Olympics finished a couple of weeks ago. We're into the Paralympics now. Um, there are a few things that I would like to get rid of and change. I think breakdancing is certainly top of the list. That's gone anyway, so that's good. Although I will say breakdancing done well is very, very impressive. Seeing the Australian kangaroo lady, very embarrassing. Like she's saying that she doesn't like to be criticized or it's not very fair or people need to be kind. I'm sorry, but if you're going to get up on the world stage and perform like that, you're gonna get criticized. You're gonna get criticized. It can't not happen. Like if you're in that environment, again, top end elite sport, there everyone like people are going to critique. People are going to criticize you. Doesn't matter how good you are. Sometimes,
I
even
mean,
really good people get criticized. So
I
you
would,
100% are going to get it.
I would argue it's about as sporting as bodybuilding. Like you being in shape helps, being athletic helps, but then it's subjective at the end of the day. And if I'm a judge and I ain't got a clue what I'm looking for, by the way, I might just think that someone moves better than another person purely based on I don't even know what markers.
But then, could you also say that about the gymnastics and diving?
Yeah, but they are looking for specific things with the gymnastics and the diving. Whereas in the breakdancing, I don't think there's like, oh, you must perform this maneuver, you must perform this skill, you must show this.
Mm.
I don't think there's that. It's just whereas with the gymnastics, obviously growing up, you don't really understand it, but when you learn the skills that are required, okay, they have to show this, they have to do this, they have to look like they are in control when they do this thing, they need to do this many flips. Like that makes sense. And then they add the artistic element to it. Whereas breakdancing, I would say there's an athletic requirement, yeah, but well, depending on what you do. Um, it's artistic. You just make up whatever the fuck you're doing on the spot there,
Yeah,
and it's more just artistic. Which there's nothing wrong with artistic. Like I said, the gymnastics is fine, the diving, fine, whatever. But like it can't just be artistic.
yeah. So let's go through some of these Olympic sports. We've already got rid of breaking. What else do you want to get rid of? Have you got anything on the top of your mind?
Are we changing things? Can we add things to stuff?
Yeah, you can change things, add things to stuff. Like we're making our own rules here.
Okay, so the one thing that I want to do is the horsey stuff. Love horses. Great animal, beautiful animal. One of my favorite animals by far. But the whole like, oh, look how pretty it looks walking sideways. I just think that's a waste. I think bringing lancing,
Yes, I
jousting,
was gonna say jousting. We
get
need.
that in there.
I'd literally just written that.
Obviously, protect the horses as much as we can, but jousting for
We,
sure. I
well,
think that's
you're not going for the horses though, are you? You're going for the
no.
person on the horse. So the horses are fine. Like it's just using the horse for a, for a proper combat sport. I like
Yeah,
that.
but I mean, like you get persecuted if you deliberately try and impede the horse instead of going for the person. You are anointed a nonce or something, just something bad. So obviously, like they're not hurting the horses.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that idea. Let's bring back jousting. We 100% need that in the Olympics.
Jousting.
Not
I
sure.
think
I'm not sure when the next lot of sports gets decided. I know they've already decided for LA 2028.
I
Uh,
would like to see fencing becomes lightsaber dueling.
well, they could just change. I suppose, yeah, they could just change up the way that they do fencing, couldn't they?
They could and they should.
I think you've got to keep the let's keep the traditional fencing, but let's introduce the lightsaber dueling as a new sport. So they're in the dark. You turn off the lights, and you
Yeah,
put them like in like a little mini arena where they've got to run around and catch each other.
I've got it. I've got
You
it
could do it
right.
in or you could do it in teams as well.
You get rid of the breakdancing, but the artistic element comes into the lightsaber duels. So it becomes like a cinematic experience. So it's a duel, but you get points for artistry as well. So if you do
What
like
if?
flips with your lightsaber and then attack someone, go on.
What if these lightsaber duels were actually a combination of the athletes that you've got in the other sports? So you've got your gymnast representative, so Simone Biles, she can go in there, and then you mix them in with some of like say the Olympic weightlifters, the shot putters, the um, athletes from some of the other athletic events, and you go right now, you lot are going to fight against that lot. And you can like do whatever you want. So you could have the shot putter fucking throwing Simone Biles through the air. She could be spinning around like Yoda, whipping at people's heads and stuff. That'd be well cool.
Yeah, I like that. I like
We've
that.
got lightsaber dueling. I would. What would you do with basketball? Would you keep that personally? So they've got basketball and 3v3. I would keep the 3v3 because I think it's different. And if like with like this is one of my key rules coming into this was if the Olympics isn't the kind of the top end or the pinnacle of the sport, it needs to change. Like if you've got football teams or nations of footballers turning up, like Brazil, for instance, and it's not their full strength 11, what's the point?
Yeah.
It needs changing. So for me, basketball can go. We can keep the 3v3.
I would change the basketball to dodgeball.
Or dodgeball would just be a great addition. I love that.
I would make the golf more like hockey or crazy golf.
So what I would do with the golf is you could either as a bit of a more serious idea, you could have long drive contest where you it's literally just whack a ball as far as you can.
Yeah, that's a good shout, actually. That'd be interesting.
You could do closest to the pin as like a little knockout.
Yeah, I like that. Also good.
Uh, that this could even be done as like a combination where you've got to do the series of these and you get points for each one wherever you rank. Quite like the idea of that. Or my personal favorite, and this is slightly more silly, but imagine this: you got a big like 20,000 seater arena, like where they did the BMX in and stuff like that.
Yep.
Big arena, and set up like I'm talking world class mini golf,
Yep.
right?
Done.
Not necessarily the crazy golf stuff, but like world class mini golf where it's all about putting skills, and then you've got like you can like knock into each other's balls and things like that a little bit more frequent. And you've got all the world's best golfers in that arena, and you're able to watch all of them at the same time playing around a mini golf. That would be
I
outstanding.
would take it a step further and have it as like a total wipeout style course. So it requires a little bit more physical ability outside of your hip rotation and coordination slash agility. I would like they have to climb up some netting to get to hole number two, and then they have to jump over these balls to get to hole number three. You see what I'm saying? Bit more of like an assault course to get to the holes.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
Well, you're not yet, but wait till you see it.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, what would you do about? I'd get rid of football and replace that. Get them into some sort of like basketball. Have got the 3v3 football. You could do five-a-side.
Yeah.
You could 100% like. Do you remember like Masters football?
That's what I was just thinking then. That would be
That kind of thing,
absolutely
or
wow.
futsal. Futsal would be another good one.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking that would then be the pinnacle of five-a-side football. That'd be insane. Like the kind of thing that you would play on the streets. Like, oh, here's what about this one? Kirby.
An Olympian Kirby player.
What about that? Like, what a game that was as kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I like it. I'll tell you what else I would do. I would change the shooting from like the boring stuff that they currently do to like a Navy SEAL style drill. This is the scenario. This is the situation. Obviously, they're only shooting at whatever bottles, targets, whatever, not the people. But oh my God, they could do laser tag.
So the thing is, they've got the modern pentathlon. which is similar to that. So it's like there's loads of swimming, then running, shooting, all that kind of stuff. I think they even have horse. I don't know whether they have horse riding in it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Um, but what I would do, like, is you could get rid of that, and like you say, you could have some sort of Navy SEAL Marine type obstacle course where they've got essentially climb the 30-foot, like a 50-foot wall, rope climb, slide down ropes. You could have them running through stuff while they've got landmines and shit blowing up around them, smoke grenades, like here's some tear gas, have a sip of that kind of thing. That like I would love to see that. That would be so cool. And then at the end of it, like you've got a target of like there's Bin Laden, right? You got to shoot him 3 times in the face before you move on to your next terrorist kind of thing. That would be so cool to watch.
I would pay to watch that. That would be very good.
So we've got the Navy SEALs, Marines slash SAS style. Like, I mean, we're not CrossFit, so we can't pull this together ourselves. I suggest we consult with, maybe some special forces operatives on how they would put this together, and we can make this happen. That honestly, I would love to see that. Um, Rugby sevens, a proposed change for this. So at the minute, obviously they just play on a full size rugby pitch, and then everyone that runs around is just really skinny and fast. Like you're negating the majority of the rugby population there. Half of them, the big lads, just have to sit and watch. Like, why can't they go to the Olympics, right? So put them on a smaller pitch. Say we're still gonna have a scrum. You got two, like bring on two forwards, play the rest as backs, and get some proper tackling done as well. Yes, Chris, you've got a question.
So I was going to say they should just do the Oklahoma drill.
Yeah, but that's banned. you, you,
What is
you
it?
don't do that anymore. That's not been done for years because it
Oh.
is that like so. I mean, I imagine probably the majority of people who know me who listen to this will know the Oklahoma drill, but there's various different ways of setting it up. But it is essentially a situation of lineman, defensive lineman, ball carrier, linebacker. Distances are kind of obviously O line and D line are very close to each other. They basically every rep, it's you smash into each other, then you try and tackle him, and it's just big collisions at full speed, and it's something that isn't done anymore, or should not be done anymore.
It's
So
a
yes,
shame.
no, let's not do the Oklahoma drill. We
I
could.
don't know why. I just started laughing then because I was thinking about I'm sure this happened to more than one person, but I was watching so I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was an NFL draft and he was a young wide receiver, bless him. And the chill where I don't know the names and the technical terms for American football, but he stood like on the sideline, I think, and he ball comes towards him, he catches it, throws it away, turns around to face the other way, and they have to do like 3 or 5 like in quick succession. I'm sorry, everyone, but I have to say this. He turns around and he was too slow, and he just takes him straight in the face.
I haven't seen that, but I know what you're talking about. So that's the combine where they do the gauntlet, and they start off facing
Sorry, not draft.
facing one way, and then they've got two guys to the side. They spin one way, catch the ball, spin 180 degrees, catch the other ball, and I'm assuming that's the one that smacked him in the face, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, you've got to catch both of those, throw them away, and then you start running in a straight line across the field, catch balls from either side, and then you finish it turning upfield and catching another one. So yeah, but that's like if you like honestly, American footballs they will hurt. They will hurt, especially if
Oh,
they're
yeah.
traveling quick. Like that will be traveling. That is gonna hurt the guy. I'd
Same with
quite like
rugby.
table tennis. I'd quite like to see paddle tennis come in.
Yeah.
I'd quite
Yeah.
like to see paddle tennis come into it. Regular tennis, again, I mean, I suppose it's almost like a bit of a major in tennis now, the Olympics. I feel like it is actually like the Olympics in tennis, I feel is a a bit of a big deal. Do you agree?
There's some big players there. Yeah.
Well, they're all there, aren't they? Like, you know, all the best players in the world. I suppose same with golf, but I just don't like. Yeah, golf can just sort itself out, whatever it wants to do. Um, I'm fairly happy with the list that we put together there. Is there anything else that you can think of that you'd like to add in or change? Actually, the flag football edition for 2028 in LA, I am very much looking forward to that. I
Yeah.
think that'll be similar along the lines of soccer, football, bringing the five-a-side version of American football, like they've got the seven-a-side version of rugby. I think is going to be a great addition. That'll be very, very good to watch, and it'll be very interesting to see how many countries bring in their big boys, bring in the big dogs that are playing in the NFL. That will be exciting to watch.
Another one, new edition, quick cricket.
Oh yes, I remember we spoke about this. That would be class.
Yeah.
That'd be class. So that's where you've got like this is old school primary school games in it where you like you've got someone bowling, you have to bowl underarm, and no matter what, you've got to run. And the place you've got to run to is like off to the side. That'd be sick. That would be so good to watch. Well, I feel like we've sorted out the Olympics.
Beanbag race might be good.
What's that?
Beanbag race. Sorry, I'm just thinking of all, like you said, the all the old school sports day races.
Oh
Egg and
no,
spoon.
no, we're not having egg and spoons. Nonsense.
No.
Like, proper sports like quick cricket. That'll that'll do us. I feel like we've got a good list there. Um,
Yeah, I don't think we need to damage that anymore. Good list there.
Right, well, that wraps us up for episode 114, talking training volume and Olympic sports. Hopefully, you've got a few ideas as to how you can actually progress your training if you are wanting muscle growth and development, not purely hypertrophy. If you are in the sports performance side of it, then I would recommend moderate your training load as opposed to just ramping it up through the roof because you will fatigue, you will burn out, and you will get slower and you will get weaker. So, simply focus on massively ramping up that training volume if you're going pure hypertrophy gains. Chris, have you got any final thoughts, wishes, or recommendations for the fine people before we leave them to the rest of their lives for the week?
No, stay safe out there and make as many gains as possible.
All right, guys, thank you very, very much for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure to do this again for you. We will hope to see you again soon. Take it easy.
Peace
No,
out.
don't take it easy. That's a horrible thing to say. Why would I say that? Why would I say that? That's
I
the
think
human in me coming out. Like, I just want people to be okay.
you meant well.
Fucking go hard. Default aggressive. Go get it. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Speak to you again soon.